something.
That's the link you want to send people to. Friendly reminder.
All right. Hello, everybody. Can you guys hear us, see us? I don't see us yet, so I'm trying to. Yay! Okay, now I see us. All right. If there's anybody on that can hear us and see us and would like to say hello. All right.
Say hi in the comments so that we know that we are live and ready for action.
Okay.
Otherwise, Teresa and I can just talk.
We can. Yeah. Yes. Hi, Tammy. Yay. Thank you. Awesome. Okay. All right.
Love it. Love it. All right. So while Teresa's fumbling around, making sure that Facebook is going all over the place, where are you? Like, let us know where y'all tuning in from. I'm outside of Boston, snowy Boston. Teresa is.
I am in St. Augustine, Florida.
Which earlier I joked that Boston was very snowy and Florida was hot and COVID-y.
Yes, so that's exactly what it is. Hot and COVID-y. It's a beautiful description. Although, Jenna, I've been like the world's thickest sweatshirt because my my blood is no longer thick. So it's 60 degrees here, which means it's freezing and I'm going to get frostbite. So, yeah.
Oh my God. I have a heater under my desk. So hopefully you guys can't hear that, but let's see. I know Tommy's in Michigan. It's cold there too. Karen's in Arkansas. Love it. Emily, just let us know where you're watching from, because I always like to see, kind of East Coast, West Coast, right in the middle, where people located. And then obviously we're here to start to talk about private practice a little bit. And so let us know too what setting you're currently in. I'm just curious. I'm an adult medical person also, for the record. So I know that we've got a lot of medical SLPs tuning in, but what setting are you currently working in? I'm just curious. Let me know. All right, we got somebody in Pittsburgh. Love it.
Awesome.
Cool.
All right. Somebody familiar.
All right.
Hi, guys. Yay. Hey. All right.
So Teresa and I are also having, so she's having wine. I'm having water because vocal hygiene. Also some bourbon, because Teresa said I should have wine for our little talk tonight. But I'm doing one of those virtual wine tastings tomorrow night. And so all of the wine that we have in our house is for this wine tasting event. So I couldn't get the wine. Anyway,
don't touch the wine.
Don't touch the wine. Exactly. So, Teresa and I have been friends for a long time, right? She's one of the people who have actually gotten to hang out in real life with.
Yes.
Only a couple times. We got to do more of that once we can. But, she and I are big supporters of each other's work and of each other's businesses, because we have a mission to support SLPs and help SLPs really do the best work that they can in their setting, right? And so that's a mission that she and I both hold very dear. Obviously, Teresa has, really supported medical SLPs through her career. And I have supported private practice SLPs, many of which who have been medical SLPs, but also been school SLPs, EI SLPs, other people, private practice SLPs, whoever it is. But I'm just really excited to be here on Facebook Live with you to talk about a little bit about the opportunity around private practice, and also to let y'all know that we're doing a full-length webinar. This is kind of just a teaser, get everybody excited thing, but on Thursday night, so in 2 nights, Teresa's going to drop it in the chat, I think. But basically, I want you guys to register for the full webinar, which you can register for at startyourprivatepractice.com/Teresa. It's going to be Thursday night on February 11th at 9 p.m. We wanted to do, I know that can be a little late for the East Coasters, but we want to make sure that our West Coast friends are also able to attend. But I want to be able to talk to you all about, a lot of people are wondering, is now still a good time to start a private practice? And obviously, the world is kind of upside down right now, maybe starting to work its way out a little bit. But people are still wondering if now is still a good time to do anything, right? So when it comes to private practice, the way that I have been describing this to people is that there are clients out there who need our services, right? There are people real life people in your community who are either going without services, or they are stuck on a wait list, or they have no idea where to turn for help for themselves or a loved one, right? Then we also have a group of people who are us, right? Who are SLPs, who have skills, who have knowledge, and who possibly have desire and time to do more work and to serve more people, to use your skills and expertise and get paid for them, right? So we have these two groups of people. And the way that I describe this is that private practice is the bridge that helps us unite people who need services with people who are able to provide them, right? So, since this whole thing began, last year, we're like a year into this now, I've had so many people like reach out to me, get started with their private practices because either they had been laid off, they had been furloughed, they were working in either unsafe or unsatisfactory working conditions, and people were starting to feel like now is good a time as ever, right? And so over the last year, we've helped, I should have really figured out the specific number, but around 750 SLPs start their private practices. Isn't that crazy?
It's amazing. It's amazing.
It's amazing. And it feels like, to me, this is really part of the mission, right? Like, I truly believe that I love SLPs. I love women, right? I want to make sure that people are able to have their own, have their own income and to really be in control of their professional, their personal, and their financial lives. And I believe that the best way to do that is by having your own business and starting a private practice. So, is now still a good time to start a private practice? Yes, right? There's people in your community who need your help, right? Yep. And I know that that's something that Teresa has talked a lot about is, people who are going without services who really need them, right? Now is a time where you can be that person for a family.
Yep. I mean, this is, Jena and I have talked about doing something like this together for forever, but this has such a deep personal meaning for me right now. I have a son, I have a 5-year-old with severe special needs, and this pandemic has just been, obviously it's been awful on so many people, but for people that need services due to whatever red tape may be, they've just been completely cut off. So, at this point, I mean, we're doing everything we can to get him as much private practice therapy as we can. And, I am desperate to find people for him. And the minute I find somebody that's like, oh, I have a private practice, I can see him on the side. I can see him 2 times a week instead of 1 time a week that the school might offer, or I can see him 3 times a week. Imagine that, it's like, yes, please, and the fact that I have to beg people to want to see my son, so that's why this is such a personal mission for me too, because all of us, we're so passionate about what we do. We're so loyal to our facilities. And it's not, I think people are like, well, I don't know if I could do it on the side. You can, you absolutely can. There's definitely some things to be aware of and some things to and Jena walks you through all of that stuff. But the reality is people need services, and people are willing to just cut down the red tape and pay privately for them. Or if you want to take insurance, you can too. But there are so many people that have just been neglected, abandoned throughout this whole thing, that need services, that want your services, that you are specialized in, that you've busted your butt learning, that you've acquired all this knowledge to get. So please go out and use it and help the people that are looking for you.
100%. Right. And, people often worry like that you have to get some sort of stamp of approval, right? That you are now ready to have a private practice, right? And I think a lot of times, as SLPs, we have this culture of feeling like, we have to be certified in things. We have to like achieve this level of success or this level of years of experience or all of those things, right? If you have something to bring to the table, if you have solid clinical skills, you do not have to be an expert, right? It'd be great to be an expert, and hopefully you're on your way to becoming an expert, but you can start working with private clients as long as you have something to offer, right? that's something that is, there's a lot of misconceptions and a lot of barriers I feel like SLPs, put on themselves for, whether or not they're ready to start a private practice. And one of those things is years of experience, right? When I first got started, I thought that you had to have, 15 or 20 years of experience to start working with private clients. Let me know in the chat if you also thought that you had to have a certain amount of, years of experience before starting, right? That's part of what I call the old way to do it, right? So what I teach people to do, and I'm going to talk about this extensively on the webinar that Teresa and I are going to do on Thursday night, but I teach a new way to start a private practice. And one of those things as part of the new way is to start now, wherever now is for you. So if you have, only been in the field for a few years and you want to gain experience as you start your private practice, right? You don't have to wait until you have all this experience because, you might be waiting for forever, right? You can start now and gain experience as you grow your practice, right? The other side of the coin is I have people who are like heading toward retirement, who always wanted to start a private practice and now feel like maybe it's too late, right? So for them too, it's like, no, just start now and wherever you are, right? One of the other barriers that I feel like SLPs put on this is thinking about the finances involved, right? That you have to have a certain amount of money saved up, right? In the webinar, I'm gonna blow my own joke, but anyway, who's fans of The Office here? People like the show The Office, right? Okay, Teresa loves The Office, right? So one of my favorite scenes is when Michael Scott talks about how he's got this engagement ring, right? That's like 3 years savings, right? It's like this huge rock. And Jim and everyone are like, what? Like, you don't need 3 year savings. It's like 2 months savings or whatever the, rule of thumb is. So same with SLPs, right? People tend to think that you have to have 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, or take out tons of loans to get started, right? That is one way to do it, right? You can do it that way. But what you can also do is start off, on a lean model, start off with just the minimum in terms of making sure that you're legally protected. You have to have liability insurance. You have to have documentation. There's some basic things that you have to have in place that I would not recommend doing anything privately without. But beyond that, you don't have to have all of the assessments, right? You can see some clients, get some money coming in, and then save up and buy some of the assessments, right? Or brick and mortar space. I always thought that you had to have a clinic, right? I had no idea that you could see clients in their homes or in their community locations or other places that either costs nothing in terms of no overhead or really very minimal. So there's a lot of things that SLPs, tend to think that you need to do before you start a private practice. And many of those things are just thoughts, right? They're either myths that maybe were, perpetuated by, I don't know, people or ASHA or older SLPs or who knows. But there's a lot easier way to do this. And that's what I like to help people do. And that is why Teresa and I are going to host this webinar on Thursday night and go through what some of the steps are to get started in private practice, because that's what SLPs want, right? SLPs love getting their ducks in a row, right? I'm more of a type B SLP, but I still do like to get my ducks in a row. But people want to make sure that, they got their ducks in a row. They don't want to make any mistakes, right? No one wants to make mistakes. And I don't want you to make a mistake either, but the truth is you will make some little mistakes, along the way, and you'll learn from them, right? But part of my role is to help SLPs avoid making those mistakes before they do. So let me know in the Facebook chat, is this making sense to people? Is this making sense to not have to wait until the end of your career as long as you have something to offer, and or to get started, now and, more inexpensively than wait until you have, magically thousands and thousands of extra dollars to get started? Is that making sense to everybody? I know Teresa's shaking her head, nodding her head.
Yeah.
I love it.
I know specifically 2 SLPs that I worked closely with that had, just always kind of had this itch to start a private practice. And I remember to both of them, well, I don't have years of experience. I'm new. One was a very new grad. I think she'd only been out maybe a year or 2. And I finally just said to them, you guys, do you have something to offer people? And they were like, yes. And I was like, are there people that need you? And they were like, yes. And I was like, do you have the skills to help those people? And they were like, yes. And I was like, okay, then what's the problem? And we had nothing, right? So I think, I don't know what it is. I don't know why SLPs just, we overthink everything. And this is a horrible overgeneralization, so my apologies. But we do, we overthink everything. And to start a private practice, all you need is to have the skills to know how to do your job. And a lot of us are very specialized. So, someone said they wanted to help patients with Parkinson's. I'm sure you know a crap ton about helping patients with Parkinson's. And if that's what you want to do and you want to pour all of your passion into helping patients with Parkinson's, then that is a beautiful thing for those patients with Parkinson's to be able to find you. So I just want to encourage people that think that they don't have the experience. If you have the knowledge, you have the skills, and you have the passion to help people that need you, you'll do wonderful things.
100%. I think the other thing is to think about, what is attractive about private practice to people? Like, why do SLPs choose to go into private practice, right? So I often talked about the 4 Fs. So the 4 Fs are freedom, flexibility, fulfillment, and finances. Let me know in the chat which one of those light you up the most, and why you maybe want to start your private practice. Freedom, flexibility, finances, and financial abundance. Oh no, I said one of them twice. Freedom, flexibility, and financial balance, something like that, right? See, I had like 2 sips of bourbon before we got on, and now I'm looping, right? And so, okay, we got one person that said freedom.
Sonia. Hi, Sonia.
Love it. And flexibility. So flexibility is huge, and that speaks a lot to parents and schedules, and wanting to have that flexibility of schedule, right? Another, I thought of the other one, which is fulfillment. So fulfillment is really important in terms of, Teresa talked about someone who said that they wanted to work with Parkinson's like exclusively, right? Being able to truly be fulfilled in your work and work with the kinds of clients that light you up and allow you to do your best work is really, really important. Right. And along with that is the idea of freedom, right? Freedom means a lot of things to a lot of different people. But one of the ways that it has to is like freedom to make your decisions, right? Freedom to use whatever evidence-based practice, techniques that you want to use. The freedom to make your own both clinical decisions and personal decisions that you think are right for the clients that you're serving. And then finances, right? I used to kind of shy away from talking about finances when it came to SLPs, because sometimes people get nervous talking about money, and sometimes there's feelings of guilt over, well, I don't want to charge people for services. I would do this for free. I hear that all the time. But I just want to give you a friendly reminder that you have done this work for free, and you've done this work for free for a long time. Any time that you have gone without a raise, that you have worked beyond your schedule, anytime that you've been working on, paperwork on the weekends, or purchased materials for clients that you weren't reimbursed for, you have worked for free, right? So if you are okay with that and you'd like to continue working for free, then that's one route. But if you would like to get paid and get paid fairly for your expertise, for having a master's degree, then this is a good way to do it. And private practice is a great way for you to be fairly compensated and decide, how much you want to get paid and how much you would like to earn. So I used to shy away from talking about finances with SLPs. And then, whenever, I see comments, preach, and, whenever I make a comment about this on Instagram, like, you have a master's degree, earn like it. That's like my top Instagram post ever, right? So I think SLPs do like to talk about this, even though they may feel still a little bit funny about it too.
Yeah. We're women. We have families to take care of. There may be some men listening, and if you are, great. You got a family to take care of too, I'm sure. So
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So thank you for sharing, why you're interested in doing this. And so I was talking about this for a long time, about the 4 Fs, even though I forgot one momentarily earlier. But one of the people who had been a guest on my podcast said Jena, you forgot the 5th F. And I said, oh God, like, what is it? And she's like, fun. And I was like, oh, fun. You're right. Like, let's be creating situations where we can have fun, right? Whether that's, being able to take time off of work, right? If you're in charge of your own schedule, you can decide to go to the beach on Fridays, right? Or not start your day until 10 because you want to go to the gym, or I don't know, do whatever, right? Or what to use your money with, right? If you're all of a sudden making more money than you were in your like traditional job, then maybe you can take that trip that you've been wanting to do with your spouse, right? After COVID, but nonetheless, you can take that trip. You can do that kitchen renovation that you've been wanting to do, right? You can do some of those fun things because now you have more time and more income to be able to do it, right? So I'm just a big believer in people having choices and in people being able to see what the options that are available to them and, going from there, right? But Teresa mentioned earlier about seeing private clients on the side, and that's something that I want people to do, right? And there are a couple of ins and outs of doing that, which I'm going to cover on the webinar on Thursday night, which if you haven't registered for, head over to startyourprivatepractice.com/Teresa. She's going to put it in the chat again.
Okay.
But I know SLP, I'm an SLP, right? I know how we think, I know how we work, and I know how people want to reduce risks, right? We're tend to not be risk-taking types of people, right? We like to get stuff right. So one of the easiest ways to reduce your risk involved in starting your own business is to not like leap or jump into private practice, right? Sometimes that surprises people when I say, oh, I don't want anyone to leap into private practice and just, quit your job and then start. And people think that's funny that like the private practice lady would say that. But, I really do want to make sure that people are starting in a place where they have money coming in, right? And they can start to see these clients on the side. And what happens is at some point you get to kind of a breaking point where in maybe only a few hours a week in your own private practice, you're actually making more money than entire days at your regular job. And that's when you really can make that choice about whether or not you stay in that regular job or whether or not you continue to grow your practice. And I've worked with, thousands of SLPs, and some people want to keep their private practices small and on the side of the job that they're doing at a hospital or school or wherever. And other people have big vision, right? They want to have that big brick and mortar private practice, even multi-location private practices, right? So it depends. It completely depends on your season of life. It depends on what your goals are. And again, the beauty is that you get to choose that for yourself versus someone else making decisions about you and your life and your finances, which is probably what's happening at your regular job.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
I love it. So I was going to say one other thing, and then, again, sign up for the webinar, right? So the other thing that I talk about is, really thinking about who it is that you want to serve, right? So SLPs also love WH questions, right? We're like the queens of WH questions. So in the comment box real quick, let me know, who are your favorite kinds of clients? Who are the kinds of clients that really light you up, allow you to do your best work, and that if you could, you would work either primarily or exclusively with them, right? Somebody earlier mentioned Parkinson's, right? Wanting to work with Parkinson's. I don't know if Tommy is still on here, but one of Tommy's favorite population are gender diverse clients and working with voice, right? That's a population that Tommy is very passionate about. Head and neck cancer is what someone else is saying, right? So it's really important for you to figure out who you want to serve that will, again, allow you to use your passion, your expertise, and really be able to show up and be be great for them, right? Okay, so that's the who, right? Another thing that I want y'all to think about while y'all are doing comments is your why, right? Why do you want to do this, right? Earlier, we talked about freedom, flexibility, fulfillment, finances, and fun, right? So I kind of already had y'all think about your why, but again, that's just something I want you to be thinking about is why do you want to do this, okay? The other thing that I want you to be thinking about is when. When might you be able to do this? We already talked about seeing private clients on the side. Is this something you might be able to do after work? What about maybe on the weekends? Maybe there's some school SLPs watching who have summers off, right? When some people, like when I first got started in my private practice, I was working at a hospital, and this was crazy, but I did like the 4 10-hour days. I was exhausted, but nonetheless, I did it. And I saw all my clients on Fridays, right? So thinking about when, right, you might be able to see your clients. And hello, Casey Quinn Daly. She's one of my favorites and is in my program.
One of my favorites.
What?
I guess we can share.
We can share. She's great nonetheless. Okay, so thinking about, all of these WH questions. So the other 2 WH questions I want to talk about real quick are where. So where might you see your clients? I talked about earlier how you don't have to have a brick and mortar location. It's usually something that people kind of work up to. You may think that you have to have that at first, but you don't. You can actually see clients in their location or in a community location or something like that. But you want to think about where you can see them. You also potentially could see them in your home. You want to check with your homeowner's insurance and a couple other things to make sure that that's okay, but that is an option for some people. But really thinking about where you're going to see people. And our last WH question that I want y'all to think about is what? What services do you want to offer? Do you want to offer fees? Do you want to offer accent reduction, right? Modification? Do you want to offer language services for kids with language delays, right? What do you want to offer? And also, do you want to offer individual services? Do you want to offer evaluations only? Do you want to do IEP consulting, group therapy? Where most people are doing telepractice right now. So that's something that, used to be only a small percentage of the population and now is basically every SLP, right? But, what services do you want to offer, right? So those are some of the questions that I want you to start thinking about so that when you come to the webinar on Thursday night, you've already made some of these decisions about who you want to work with, what services you want to offer. So when we start putting the pieces together of how you can actually do it, it will make a lot more sense to you. And it'll, help those ideas that you've been having in your head or those dreams start to be where you can see a plan of how you can actually make it come true, right? I noticed one comment that I want to address real quick. Somebody asked if the processes are different if you want to work with pediatrics versus adults. So I would say generally they're the same, right? You still have to have, it's the same legal information that you have to get set up, the same kind of business license. You have to do, you have to document, and you have to do all of those things. The one difference can be related to payer sources, right? So, people have insurance, some people can have private pay. The only difference is if you are working with Medicare eligible people, right, you have to bill Medicare. So that is one difference in working with adults. But other than that, every single thing is pretty much the same. You might market differently to kids versus adults, a cutesy logo and bright colors versus something a little bit more muted, or tame or whatever, professional. But other than that, the process is very similar. So that was a good question. But otherwise, I just want y'all to be thinking about, like, is this exciting? Like, let us know in the chat, hearing some of the things that I've been talking about tonight, does this make this whole idea of private practice seem like something that you're like, oh, maybe I could do this earlier than I thought? Or maybe this is something that I don't have to wait, 20 years to start doing, because that's my intention, right? I'm a teacher by nature. I like to teach people. I'm also a helping people person, right? Just like you are, right? And so I want to make this easier for people than say it was for me, than it was for other generations, because it doesn't have to be hard, right? A quote that Teresa and I hear all the time in some of our like business circles are the idea of let it be easy, right? So you can let starting a business actually be a lot easier than you ever imagined. So Darielle, thank you for saying about, that you're interested in sparking that flame in you. I love hearing that. So make sure that y'all are, signed up for the webinar so that you can actually learn the steps. We're going to go through some mistakes that people make that I want to make sure that you are avoiding these mistakes. And then we're also going to talk about the 5-step process for starting your private practice. And and Jenny is in the course. I love it. That's great. Good to see you, Jenny. Thank you. There'll be some pictures of people that the MedSLP collective people probably know in the presentation, because Teresa and I have some overlap between people that we've helped. So you might know some like MedSLP celebrities making little appearances in the presentation. But anyway, I'm just excited to do it. I'm excited to, again, Teresa and I have known each other for a long time. We've been talking about doing this for a long time. And, we are both of the mind that, and when an SLP is armed with information, she's unstoppable. So let's arm you with some more information. And if this seems like something that you want to do, you will know much more how to do it, because most people don't learn anything about this in graduate school. I'm sure that your people listening are like, yep, nope, didn't learn a thing. So I'm happy to be the one to share some of this information for you. And thank you, Teresa, for letting me chat with your audience on Thursday night.
Yes, I'm so excited. Thank you so much. I'm obviously super passionate about this, and I want so many of you guys, that those of you that want to work, with you are an ENT clinic, or you want to work with patients with head and neck cancer and patients with dysphagia and aphasia and voice disorders. And I think, we often hear so many times of SLPs starting in private practice to work with kids, or, seeing them after school for autistic or language disorders. And it's really not something that's talked about much at all for adults. And it's just, there's a huge need. There is a huge need that needs to be filled. And I'm excited that so many of you guys are interested, and I hope you tune into the webinar Thursday night, and yeah, it'll be great.
Awesome. So if you haven't registered yet, startyourprivatepractice.com/Teresa. And otherwise, we will see you there. It'll last about an hour, just over an hour. And I'm asking that people bring a notebook, a pen, a beverage of choice, and your questions, right? Because I'm going to go through a presentation for about an hour, and then afterward, there's going to be a Q&A. So if your questions about private practice are not answered during the presentation, I'm happy to, stay for a while and answer questions at the end.
Beautiful. Darielle had a question. Jena, do you see
that? Yeah, let's see. A webinar workbook. Yes, you should get an email about it. If not, it's really just a fancy way to help you take notes. But I'll make sure that tomorrow we're sending out a link to the webinar workbook. I know SLPs love their workbooks, right?
They do. I know. All right.
Awesome. Great question.
If anybody else has any more questions, you guys know how to get a hold of me, and we will see you Thursday night. Sign up for the webinar and bring your questions. We'll both be on and be happy to answer anything. So,
all right. See everybody then.
Thank you, my friend.
Bye.
Bye.